Yeah, we're still out of whack. We're still out of whack at some positions. I think it's probably going to take us 3 years to get back to that. But we're also still at a point where I don't feel like we can turn out a great player, even if we've met our needs and things like that. So I think, probably in 3 years we'll get back to having not only the numbers making more sense, but also how it's spread out, because that's the other issue right now. I think last year we were the second youngest team in college football out of 129 teams. I think we had 13 seniors last year. I think we have 11 seniors this year, so we're still really young. And then it's like you look at the offensive line. A good portion of the scholarship players are redshirt freshmen or freshmen. So that's something that we're still going to have to work through. We're still really bottom heavy in terms of our scholarship numbers, but based on the sanctions and guys transferring and things like that, it's going to be like that probably for another 2 years.
What are your thoughts about keeping up state rivalries with the two other state rivals?
I'd prefer to talk as much as possible about this year and Temple, but I do understand the question. I think Temple is a great situation for both schools. I think it's a situation, we should sell out the stadium between both fan bases, which I think is real positive. I think it's easy for our fans to travel to, and it maybe will attract some fans that don't make it to Happy Valley all the time. So I think that's really good. The Pitt series, I think the 4-game series is really good. Everybody's talking about extending the series. The problem is the schedules have been set, 5 years out, even before I got the job. So that's going to make it difficult. You can make arguments, kind of in both directions. I do think, there's some aspects. You talk to the high school coaches. There's real positives for the state, in general. I think, whenever we can keep the money, like playing Temple in state, the travel expenses for both schools and things like that really helps. How you say whack too, put a little extra emphasis on it. I think the other thing is special teams. I mean, we do not have a scholarship specialist, kicker, punter, snapper. That's not the ideal situation. Now, there's a lot of different models you can do. Some are scholarshiping guys out of high school. A lot are recruiting multiple walk-on guys and then allow them to earn the job once they get on campus. That's always a challenge, and what model you're going to go with. And the reason why is, say you recruit a defensive lineman and say he can't play D-line. You could move him to O-line. You recruit a snapper and he can't do it. Where do you put him? Where does he move to? So I think that's always in the past been the risk of scholarshiping those guys out of high school. I think you see a trend changing across the country that people are doing more of that, but that's an area that we're out of whack. We don't have one scholarship invested in a specialist. By the time we got the job, typically there's a handful, maybe 5 snappers, 5 kickers, 5 punters in the country that get scholarships out of high school. By the time we got the job, those guys were already gone.
The cost of attendance figure, would you like to see it standardized or left the way it is? Do you think it will be standardized or left in the open for each school to mandate whatever figure they want?
2 different answers. Growing up in this profession for 20 years, I was taught that everything was about leveling the playing field. And I believed in that. And I believed in that previously, and I still believe in that. So having something that's outside of that model is kind of weird for me. So I think the purity of the game and how I was raised in the game, yes, you'd like to see it. You'd like to see it standardized. From everything I know about federal and state law, it's not going to happen. When you go cost of attendance, it's funny because probably for 10 years, Penn State was hurt on cost of attendance because we had one of the higher cost of attendances out there. Well, now once they institute this rule, we're fortunate. So my first answer, as a purity of the sport and what I believe in how I was raised in it, was I'd like to see it, yes. As the head football coach at Penn State, where we have one of the highest cost of attendance in the country, no, I love it. I think it's awesome because it's something I'm going to be able to use in recruiting. No different than I put up the graduation rates of Penn State and every other school in the conference, and the graduation rates of not only Penn State but all the schools that I think we compete against nationally. I'm also able to do the same thing now with cost of attendance. And I think we're number one in the Big Ten and one of the better in the country. So wearing my Penn State hat, which I wear full time, except for the 2 or 3 hours I spend with my family, I'm all for cost of attendance in the structure that it is right now.